Yeah, the first thing on the agenda for short-term rental law, our last workshop, we had another good discussion, and Steve suggested that we compare the Airbnb rules to our local law as a way of saying, well, if the majority of the people who are doing this STR stuff are already abiding by Airbnb-like rules, or VRBO, or whatever it might be, then we're not going to be putting a burden on them per se. If they're doing something outside of that, then are those requirements on an Airbnb like STR still valid, and can we just make sure that they meet those minimum standards? So I gave you a copy of our current draft of the STR law as well as what Steve found. And what I'd suggest is I got a couple notes that I made. I don't see a lot of difference. There's a couple things to talk about, and then just take some time. You can actually look at some more depth on any of these. As you know, like anything that's got a footnote on the email, you can click into and look further into if you want to. But as you look at our local law, our draft, all of the rules that we're putting in place, with a few exceptions, are very similar or identical to the Airbnb. Safety devices like carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers, emergency information like for evacuation, emergency evacuation, things like that. Contact card with local emergency numbers and things like that. I'm looking at the Airbnb requirements, the first page there, that's the Gmail. If you look down, there's one there that we don't actually list in short-term rental law, which is hazard disclosure. Notifies guests of potential hazards, i.e., or e.g., steep stairs, bodies of water, and securely lock away dangerous items. So that's an item that Airbnb highlights as important, and we do not have something like that in our local law. So this could go both ways. We might see something in our local law we want to change to match Airbnb, in this case, maybe add that, or vice versa. Going to specific considerations, a lot of these are already in place. If you have a pool, you have to have a fence, all that, so I didn't see any need there. It does say there in local laws, check municipal regulations for additional fire safety requirements or occupancy limits. And of course, we have occupancy limits in our local law. Some of the things they do that we wouldn't do, if we flip to the second page of the Airbnb stapled items, we do have insurance, but we don't have guest identification, verification, and we don't have background checks, etc. Those are things that they recommend, but we would never do. Those are the highlights that I saw. Now, what we have in the STR law that would go beyond what's in the Airbnb, if you flip to that, on the second page, the back of the first sheet, we do have a couple of restrictions that are not in Airbnb. Number 4, number 5, and number 6 are things that we have that are not in the Airbnb rules. Parking, minimum size, it can't be in a garage. Everything else seemed like, obviously, a special use permit, one could argue, well, Airbnb is not requiring a special use permit, but they're requiring a lot more in terms of being able to be certified as Airbnb, so maybe that's our equivalent. But everything else, quiet hours, all these things are in the Airbnb rules and are part of ours. I think those are the only ones that I noticed, 4, 5, and 6. That would be something we could consider, okay, that's more restrictive than Airbnb. So I like the suggestion. It seemed like the board, without Harold's commentary yet, which we're welcome to get, but this was a good way to go. And I think we could perhaps, everybody could do a little bit of homework or talk about it now, make any final corrections to the STR law, and then tee it up for a vote on Thursday. How does everybody feel about it?
Well, number 18, if you own your property outright, you don't need to have insurance.
But you would for Airbnb.
No.
you have insurance for your house.
You don't, not if you own it.
That's true, if you own a house that's not mortgaged, you do not. So we could put a clause in there for that, I suppose, but you're saying it doesn't matter then. In other words, you wouldn't need this statement in here at all.
When you run it, like, again, further to say it, like, you can't really, it doesn't really work that way. The town could say they want insurance, but, I mean, are we really gonna do that?
Right, if
That's
someone owns the
that's
house,
excessive.
yeah.
So if you own it outright, that's your prerogative, you have liability
Right,
insurance,
but now we're getting into personal
Yeah.
stuff, like, we can't actually
Right,
pull
and
down
if
our
the
house
bank owned
outright.
it, and they disclosed improperly, that's on them.
We can't, that's why I'm saying, is that the A-team's we gotta get that out there, but.
Well, but they do require insurance, Airbnb, so how do we somehow accommodate that?
I mean, a local law could do that, but
Yeah, I see what you mean, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, if somebody goes away for a couple of weeks and wants to rent their house out, why wouldn't they wanna get another insurance policy?
no. Yeah, that's what I mean, it's just,
Unless they have homeowners.
that's, I'm just saying, that'd be like, in my opinion, an overreach
Okay.
of, I mean, that's not, I think we should stick with safety. If this is gonna be something we're really gonna do, I think everybody could agree on some safety measures, but I think now we're getting into liability, you're already, I mean, Airbnb, again, which I don't see on here, there's certain waivers and stuff that both the guest and the owner have to sign. To
Yeah.
basically, wipe away any liability like that, cause
Right.
let's face it, somebody could die in your Airbnb, what are you gonna do, sue them?
I take your point, how does everybody else feel about it? We could scratch 18, it's also, all of this is always a question of how can you enforce it anyway. So how would you know if someone
It's
owns
just
it?
not worth bothering to put in there.
Our goal is to make it so people can use their properties for what they like without disturbing the peace and the
Right.
environment, so that would be on them, in my opinion.
Okay.
That'd be on the homeowner.
Okay, Harold, Bill, any thoughts?
I agree, it doesn't need to be in there. It'd be hard to enforce. If you can't enforce it, it really isn't, it's just a waste of paper, but, I think you pose liability by asking for that. Once you ask for that, now something happens, and you got a form, now they can sue you because you were involved, because you made a rule, they gave you insurance,
That's potentially.
something happened.
Yeah.
Now, it's like I always say, if you shovel the sidewalk in front of your house and somebody falls, you're liable. If you don't shovel it and they walk through and they fall, that's on them because it's nature.
I agree.
That's how they do it with.
I would almost recommend, I would rather see us do something to where, if we're gonna allow if you're gonna say we're gonna do short-term rentals, we should recommend, I don't know if we can say, hey, we're fine with it as long as you utilize the Airbnb or VRBO, because there's regulations involved with that. Once you stop, it's allowing people to just willy-nilly rent their house out for whatever reason, that we don't know about, and then there's no liability there. Very different things. So
But
what
it's
are we
also
going for
something,
here?
it is for liability, but it's not for accountability. If someone then says, turns in a neighbor because the neighbor's doing something that's outside of Airbnb, VRBO, but we haven't met these requirements, then it is something that would be on that manual.
I'm just saying, so, I would say, I guess what I'm saying is, it might be a smarter move to say Airbnbs or Airbnbs, short-term rentals are permitted using VRBO or Airbnb.
Yeah, I just hate to have a specific company listed.
Because if you don't,
I wouldn't recommend it.
now we're walking into the muddy water. Now there's all these, now what? We gotta figure out every possible thing that could happen and have a rule for it?
Well, no,
For
we
that
put some
short-term
basic
rental?
requirements, just like we're putting basic requirements based on Airbnb, but for us to cite Airbnb in the local law would be inappropriate. I can run that by Andrew, but I'm almost certain that's not to be done. That company could go fold tomorrow, it could become bought out by someone else and change its name, and then you have this whole kerfuffle. So I would say, what the logic of what we brought up last time, what you brought up, Steve, is what we're trying to apply. Making sure you have basic safety and planning board, site plan review type of reviews for these types of sites, and then let it go. You can't predict every particular
I can see
scenario.
asking for so why wouldn't we just make it as simple as, you just need to get a CFO? Like you would for rental property,
Well,
and just call it a day.
we've gone through that before. You could have a C of O that's 40 years old all of a sudden and say, a 40-year-old house, a 60-year-old house, a 100-year-old house, it has a CO,
So
or whatever you want. Well,
so
you've
how
not
often-
met these
so how
requirements,
often-
if you have a CO,
So
that's
how
from
often
100
do
years
we,
ago.
so how often do we need you wanna renew a C of O for a short-term rental?
This is set up for one time only, STR,
So-
special use permit for one time only.
Right, so essentially what do we do?
Eventually, things could fall apart, yeah. You could see that, some people were advocating, as you know, every year there should be an SUP, and I don't think that's necessary. I like the idea of doing it once, everyone gets permitted that's doing it, and then you reassess a year or two down the road and how things are going.
I don't know about just, reassess, I think, doing this is,
It seems like a C of O. Just get a C of O.
Yeah, I
If
think
we're gonna do it one
for a
time, you just call
Are
it C
you
of
gonna,
O.
are you gonna
A current
require a new
CFO.
CFO?
a current CFO or an up-to-date, but you wanna be, one-time permit, that's gonna fall by the wayside unless, the people that are here keep it going, and people are gonna come and go from this board. So, with a renewal every 5 years or 3 years, just to keep it up to date, there's gotta be some kind of renewal term. A CFO, how do they, renew it after a certain period, or do they just start and you go forever?
Yeah.
Can you say
They
a
just go
current,
forever.
up-to-date, appropriate,
And that's what I'm saying.
Put
Why
that word
would,
in
why
there.
would we just say you get a C of O every 5 years? To do short-term rental.
that would be reasonable,
You'd
5
have,
years.
you'd have.
But that way you're not-
It's the
that
same
way you're not-
effect,
but
why
now-
would that be different than an SUP? It's the same effect. It's a
That's my
cost,
point.
it's a cost, it's a code enforcement action, it's a planning board action.
Exactly.
So what's the difference between that and SUP?
So why are we
SUP
doing, why are we creating a whole new thing?
Well,
when
but
we
I
already
just-
have the thing.
Because I think some of these restrictions would not apply to a C of O. So for instance, that's why I go back to 4, 5, and 6. No more than 4 lodging rooms for hire, no more than 2 persons per lodging. STR stays, must be a minimum of 2 days. These are things that would not apply to a C of O. Certainly, going back and saying, that would be going back to the drawing board, in my opinion, saying, you need a C of O.
Yeah, but
Because then
you're
you-
saying, so who's gonna monitor whether 2 people are in a room or not? Like, I mean, this
This
is
is not
goofy.
any of this. If we
It's
say that
goofy.
about all the local laws we've ever passed, it's always in that category of enforcement.
Well, what do you do,
It's not a
like,
reason
say,
not to do
two
it.
people in a room, you got a husband and a wife, they got a baby, what are you gonna do, put them in a different room?
Of course not. It's
You
obviously
gotta,
not reasonable.
can I get a room for me and my wife and one for the baby?
I just say, but
This is standard language.
I think
for
that C of
everything.
O is where where we common ground, that it's life safety. That's just, now we're getting the weeds again when we get into how many people are in a room.
That's what Airbnbs do. You establish as the owner of an Airbnb, do you not, how many people can be in a room?
Whatever the rules
You
are,
establish how many
you
can
do
be in
that.
a,
they
in
apply
a,
it
in the
out of my
building, yes. You do, but a lot of
Yeah.
people go way beyond that.
Yeah,
Of course.
we say-
I mean, we're going to Hawaii, and I think one place says we can have 13 people, and we got 14, we're still gonna go.
I
You
think
know,
that-
do you think they're gonna throw you out?
For me, the difference is, going back to this argument of, if we can't enforce it, we shouldn't do it. That's true of all the local laws in the 10 and a half years I've been doing this. And so that's not a reason not to have a local law. It's a reason to try to be prudent and come up with the best local law you can. And in certain circumstances, that law has to be applied. But it's not a reason to say, well, we shouldn't have any local laws. You could just get the zoning book and throw it out.
I think life
Wait till
safety,
something happens.
life safety stuff makes sense. I think if we just agree that the current C of O is there, just has to be done every 5 years or whatever on a short-term rental. I think if we solve, that takes care of the life safety worries of the town.
How would you lose a CO though? How would you lose it? They already own the house,
Well, the
people are
only-
living in it, and they got a
Someone-
CO, right?
If I was
So
a
now
lawyer-
you're gonna say every 5 years, because you rent that out once a year, now every 5 years, you gotta get another CO, you gotta bring in another code enforcement officer and say, oh, okay.
It's problematic also because you can't revoke a C of O, right? Unless there's some cause. So I think someone could easily sue the town and say, you don't have the right to cause me to get a new CO. We do have the right to make them have a special use permit in addition to their CO. I would have to have that reviewed by Andrew as well if we're gonna go with the CO rate. I just don't think it's prudent.
Yeah, but now we're spending money on attorneys for something that I don't think anybody here is even here against or wants to talk about.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure I follow your logic.
There's no, like.
I didn't spend any money, I'm telling you that.
I'm just
If I was
saying, I
gonna-
don't wanna.
I would say we would
It just
have
seems
to
like a
have
silly
a
waste of
legal
money to
review.
have attorneys review a short-term rental law that I don't know that we all even agree on yet.
Well, if we have to take a vote as to whether to consult an attorney, that's fine. It was pretty inexpensive last year.
I just think that if it sticks to life safety, I think we can get some common ground. But then we get into this, I'm not gonna vote for something that says you got 2 people in a room. The Airbnb thing is a lot deeper than just this.
It's a lot more restrictive, and if you get down into the weeds, I think Airbnb actually has more restrictions. I talk about the
100%.
conditions that you have
But
to.
that's their thing.
That's their thing?
That's their thing. That's they're meeting their attorney's requirements, they're meeting to protect the liability of everybody around. Our focus as a town should be on life safety. We go into the weeds like they do, I mean, I'm just saying, we stick to life safety and there's common ground. I just think going into, to get down to how many people are in a room and like.
I think the real thing though is, so say you have a home that has 2 bedrooms, you're not gonna have 12 people staying in it. The idea is you'd have enough, so you
Absolutely.
have maximum
But that would already.
people. Yeah,
But
is that covered? That would be, that's the
that's
safety
different,
issue,
but yes.
yeah,
But that's not what this says,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
Well, just setting a baseline. We can change the baseline if you want, but
I mean,
there is a baseline that you would want to apply to how many people can be in it.
absolutely, based on how many people are staying in a house and how many bedrooms, sure. That would make sense, but not, we can't, but the way, but this is just written, no more than 2 persons are allowed to occupy each lodging room.
So the wording would need to be
The wording needs
changed.
to be changed.
Yeah, just change the
A
wording.
1-bedroom house would be how many people?
In this rule, it'd be 2.
So, but you can, if you have a 1-bedroom home, you could have a maximum of reasonably 4 people if you have a pull-out bed or, you know what I mean, like a, so so it would have to be reasonable, you know, cause. like,
Murphy bed.
We have family members over,
Have
people are
12
sleeping
on the wall.
everywhere. They're sleeping on the barn in the summer.
Sleeping on the floor.
At my house, there's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Grab a
they
sleep
out the
bag
barn,
and-
the kids sleep out the barn.
You count kids the same way.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the idea is not to have the house be overrun with people, because the goal is for us to make the atmosphere safe, but also keeping in mind with the people that are around them, they don't want these big huge parties at their house, or at the neighbor's house, so it's gotta be worded so that it's reasonable, but, not so restrictive as far as, we're not gonna check how many people are in a room.
but to throw it the other way, it's all right for the people that already live there to have a big party. And the people renting can't,
Potentially,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, then the quiet time is 10 p.m.?
what's the local?
What do you, on
Isn't there already a law?
New Year's Eve or on 4th of July? Lights out at 10 p.m.? Like I said, the less restrictive, the better. And I've always been that way, and I always will be that way. Like I say, you get along with your neighbors. My neighbor throws parties a lot. I just go to sleep.
So
If I want to go to sleep, I go to
if we
sleep.
follow local laws with regard to, noise and pets and the whole, I
Yeah,
mean,
there's noise ordinance already in place.
you know,
things like that.
just follow local law for that, I mean, we don't wanna rewrite so that one we could. one time.
That one's already in place, yeah, so you wouldn't
On a
necessarily.
shed, you had a bear. I didn't want him there, but I know how to get rid of him. I can talk to him, I guess. You got a big old black bear running around down there now.
Okay, so where are we at?
So get rid of
Discard it?
18,
Discarded completely?
get rid of number 4 under special use, follow local laws.
The parking is, I mean, it's hard to understand of it, you know, you can park 2 vehicles, but you can't park them in the front yard down at the lake, because it's the lakeside, you know, so it leaves the backside. And it's gotta be a designated parking area, you know, that's what a driveway is.
So
I don't know, when I go to Long Island, I run a cabin up there, it's, you know, pretty much, you know, park in the driveway, put the boat trailers over in the yard, and you're good. So,
Well, look, I'm not wedded to it either way, I'm just doing the due diligence that was suggested last time. If we wanna drop it as a hot potato, cause we wanna be laissez-faire on this topic, I'm game. I don't wanna keep teeing it up though, so if you'd rather, you know, send me an email with thoughts, if you have thoughts of where you are on certain numbers on this, draft, that's fine. Yeah.
I suppose,
There's no sense in beating it up any further, I think we've covered enough time.
I just hate to see us do a whole other law. I think maybe if we just focus on life safety, we require anybody that's doing Airbnbs to get a C of O, so that for everybody's peace of mind, we know these places are safe down there. And to have the smoke detectors, they have the carbon monoxide detectors in them, right? There's a septic, or some way to flush the toilet.
Sure.
Lake Ontario.
That way, we all know, you know what I mean? The rest of it,
That's the section about campers and campgrounds.
I guess that would be my only, I guess that's kind of where I stand on it at this point, because I don't know that we're gonna get common ground. But again, the rules with the Airbnb and VRBO, I believe they've got things pretty well covered for everybody, but. So I think that the life safety should be our only focus, our only concern.
Well, I'm open to, if you wanna go through and say, I would say that if we take this, and this out, then it's life safety, and I would support it, then do that. C of O is not a player in my mind. I think that's a bad move, for a number of reasons. I think it puts us in a position of requiring someone to get a certificate of occupancy and put at risk their ability to occupy their house, having already received one. It requires the same amount of work from the town, so why wouldn't we just do an SCP and charge them $50 to do that? So I think that's a non-starter. I think someone could actually sue to say you can't readdress the certificate of occupancy, I've already got one. So I don't think that's a player. But if we want to boil this down to just safety in a way that is amenable to, folks, then let's do it.
yeah, but it's the same thing with rental property though, isn't it? You only get one COO for that property. And when an old tenant moves out and a new one moves in, you don't get
You don't
another
get
one.
another CO.
It's good, I mean, it's like down at the lake. You should have a life preserver to throw,
Yeah.
And you start digging into it. Even though if you say no swimming, it's still,
Sure.
you gotta put the safety factor in there. It's a hard call.
Any other thoughts?
I think if we went through it line by line, you'd end up crossing off 90% of it. In my opinion, 90% of this I'd cross off.
Well, that's what you need to do then. Everyone, just take a minute to do that, and let's see if we have a consensus. If we don't, if it's 90%, like you're saying, Harold, then there's no sense doing the law.
Right.
I like the way Steve puts it though, for safety and, the culture of, to protect the culture to a certain degree of, you have people, so you're down there, I don't have a house on the lake, but you know each other, and if there's an issue, you're gonna walk over, knock on the door, but you get strangers in there, the people that have come here are asking for a little bit of something, just so that there's some guidelines, and I think what Steve said, the safety and protect the culture a little bit, that there is some fallback if there's any issues for the locals that they actually own there and live there year round. So,
That's true.
but bottom line is we abide by the law that's already established. These smaller protections that, or not smaller, but a smaller list makes sense to me. We've done something but we've also put the onus back on the homeowners to do what they, it's their place, they can do what they want with it, but get along, get in, fit in, get along, basically,
Yeah.
What if we just said that the special use permit is just for a life safety check once every 5 years by the code officer? And we can define what we're gonna have him look at. Or he can help, we can have a conversation about what he thinks he should look at.
Well, number two under special use permit section talks about that. You know, that the CEO would look for compliance with New York State Uniform Fire Prevention Building Code. And then, you know, obviously there's the standard SUP right now is $50, so you could just leave it as that. So I think that is there. Obviously, you know, there's other things in that section like the quiet hours that someone might want to just remove, so. Does that answer your question? Or
I'm just, like I said, I just think that is where it seems like there's a consensus around life safety.
Right.
And
as a minimum, I would agree. So what items would you consider not in that category?
And under special use permit, I would take out number 3. Number 4.
3, this,
Duration of permit, only one time, like, go to number 2 and say times 5 years. One time for 5 years. That's what I would do. One time fee for the permit shall be set. I would take out 5 too.
yeah, and I don't know how I mean, if we start saying, so, like the short-term rental must be a minimum of 2 days. Now, they can dictate that. Like if you are, like I say, I'm on Airbnb, I can dictate how many days I want to rent out. Like I would personally only do two or more, so that I know I'm not gonna get some partier in there overnight. But for us to say it has to be 2 days, I don't think that's something that everybody that's doing these is gonna love. Because that could
Well,
really limit.
I put that in under your suggestion, I'm glad.
Yeah, but you know, that's my personal preference.
Right.
But that's how I
But there's a
operate.
good logic to it.
There's a very good logic, yeah, that's exactly why.
Yeah. No, I'm fine if we take that.
But I'm not sure that, again, for consensus, to actually make that part of, and how are we enforcing it, how do we ever know anyways, so.
Sure.
We could recommend it, say, hey, just so you know, because people don't want their house trashed either.
Right, well, that's,
So we recommend that you put recommendations in there, here's our best practices, right, we can definitely come up with that. Just so like, hey, this is, generally, if you're gonna get a partier in here, they're probably gonna rent for one night and look out. Because if you're an owner, do you really wanna have to go clean after one night,
Yeah, another good point.
right? That's annoying,
It's not as cost effective.
not at all. So
All right, so let's go back to, let's try this for fun. Under general, so the first page, it basically says STRs are allowed in just about every district. Requires an SUP, so we can still discuss that when we're done.
I'm against number 2.
You don't want an SUP?
No. I'm against number 3, I'm against number 4, against number 5, 6, 7, 8. Off-street parking. Why can't they park on the lawn? At the golf course, they have to park on the lawn when they have a party. You tell me next I can't have my people that come to a wedding park on the lawn? You have a wedding down at your place by that pond and you park cars on the lawn, should we treat you differently?
I think we're talking about the difference between a rental property versus someone's own property. That's why that's there. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just telling you why it's there.
Yeah. Number 10,
You
I
don't
agree
think,
with.
but you're saying, Harold, that should.
I don't know why they want to have, nobody's ever put a sign up yet, but now we're gonna say you put a sign up, a 4x4 sign, which is gonna be more of a nuisance than most anything else. Subleasing and subletting, I think that's too vague. I mean, isn't that's what an Airbnb is subleasing or subletting? I'll only be able to stay there 30 days, what if somebody wants to come and stay for 60 days, they can't stay for 60 days?
Well, that's one of the issues that we have to discuss. I mean, that's a separate, the rental 30-day rule is also in our campground, camper thing.
I think it's 16 is really, I mean, to say that you have to be there within 30 minutes or respond within 30 minutes.
Yeah,
that's
that was
tough.
something that came up a long time ago, we don't have to keep that. No, that was to make it,
Yes.
now keep in mind, this is to protect the people who are really
Just have
concerned
someone,
about
a
it.
name on file, basically.
Right, emergency
But
contact.
they have that through the Airbnb, right?
It
I
does.
think we should
You
come
have
up
to
with
have
a list.
emergency contact information.
We should have a list of best practices or recommendations for owners. That we can put, yes, a lot of this stuff should be reviewed with them. Maybe they don't even know about it. People that have experience doing it, they obviously know different tips and tricks, right? But a lot of people.
No, that 30-minute rule
They don't even,
was-
like, yeah, right, but I don't even, you know, I mean, you can respond is different, maybe you're responding or something.
You know,
different, but-
picking up the phone or whatever. But I'm looking at Harold's number and we got nothing. Is there anything you would keep? Let's start with that.
SDR shall be allowed.
And,
But
no SUPs, so therefore
No.
you wouldn't need a local law.
special use permit, you shouldn't have to have a special use permit. You own the land, you can do with it what you want. As long as you don't put a nuclear power plant that's gonna blow up and take everybody out.
That would be good.
Yeah,
I wouldn't care today.
SDR shall be, no, everything here is, it's just restrictive stuff that we don't need. We don't have a problem, I don't know, have we had any problems?
We've had a lot of complaints over the years. We've had a lot of inquiries about the way.
Anybody died yet? Let's work back from there. Has anybody died because of it? No.
No.
Okay, let's work back. Anybody been seriously injured? I don't think.
Well, 13, 14, and 15 are probably where I can see a consensus. If maybe I'm very wrong.
13 I was alright. Yeah, the safety ones you were talking about, 13,
Yes.
14.
I have those starred too.
Yeah, those I have 13, 14, 15.
But a best practices or recommendations should be definitely listed for people. When they pick up their special, they should get it and have to sign that they've received it or something like that. You know what I mean? Just because there's a lot of responsibility there, for sure.
Well, and if they're doing Airbnb, they'll meet those responsibilities or not.
Correct.
Run it, right, yeah.
You know, and regardless of what we do, we're still gonna have the people that come in that just don't want it.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's,
Or people come and say, I don't care about the other lanes, as long as my lane, they do this, can't do this, this, and this, because this is my utopia.
right.
I'm in Shaddy, I'm right at the end of the thing. That parking lot, there's people in and out of there all day long. I live with it, I don't give a shit. They come down there and they party sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, as long as you don't come into my property and get shot, they're all right. You know, but, and if they wanna come over and go out on that deck or go out there, I don't care either. I'm real easy going, I really am. I don't, and I should be the other way, getting old, I guess I'm supposed to get angry about it, but, you know, and I've said it before, Mullane, right next door to me, he throws fireworks up probably every 2 or 3 weeks. I could make a phone call and say, hey, this guy's got illegal fireworks and keeping me awake. No, I can go over and party with him if I want to. If I don't, I can put earplugs in and a mask over my face and take a nap. I don't know, people have got to start to get a little thicker skin. Everybody's like a little pussy, and I'm tired of it. Everybody's like, Bill's having fun, and I want Bill to have fun, because I'm not having fun.
There you go.
Buy
Make it
your own
personal
toys.
now.
No, I just think people got to mind their own stinking business, and if it becomes a problem, that's why we have police. If we don't want police, we can get rid of them too. The Democrats love to get rid of all the police. I'd do better without police.
Well, we've done.
Vigilante law, I'd be running this thing.
We've pretty much done that. I mean, we've got a police officer during the day
Yeah.
in a so-called sheriff patrol at night. You know, it's still 15, 20 months away, regardless.
I just don't see.
You know, it's just where we live. You know,
I like where we are. I like the way it is now. So why am I don't want to make a rule to change it. And for some reason, some people want to change it. I think it's a vast minority that's really concerned about this. I think we've made it bigger than it is. I don't think we've had severe problems, like you said. So, you know, and if you have a problem, that's what the police are for. Call the state police, the county, the sheriff, what you can call them. That's their job. That's not our job. This isn't our job. The safety I understand. I can understand doing safety things. But, you know.
well, the last time we had a problem, that real problem that I remember,
Right.
is when that family took them to court.
Right.
And I'm sure they called the police
Yeah.
before they did that, and the police could do absolutely nothing. You know, that's why it went to court.
Yeah.
No.
And whatever happened with it.
He agreed to finish the season and discontinue.
Right.
Yeah.
That was,
Well,
chiropractor, right?
Like I said, you know, and
The Minnesota Vikings.
you're gonna have some people that are just not in favor of these, and you're gonna have some that wanna do it.
Right.
Obviously,
I mean, yeah,
You know, I'm looking at, back on the front page too, on subparagraph B, dimensional requirements. I like the way that's worded, and I like the number one under C. In other words, you're gonna have to meet all the requirements of your specific zoning district. Anyways, it's kinda like the CO argument, right? You gotta get, your requirements have to be met based on the zone that you're building, whatever it is you're building, or whatever you're gonna be operating. So if you say, okay, we're gonna go from B, keep C1, debate in the end here about whether it needs an SUP, and then jump down to keeping 13, 14, and 15, then you would just be, basically have a one-pager that says, you gotta abide by New York State law, which you almost could argue you have to do anyways, and you also have to abide by our local zoning laws in the particular district that you're gonna place this STR. That would be the basic law, without any of the other restrictions. And then the only question would be the SUP one.
So under D2, the code enforcement officer shall be authorized after inspecting whatever compliance and issue special permit. Couldn't you simply say that you must meet the requirements, you know, of what the code enforcement, if we have to have the code enforcement, we're not gonna permit, or we're not gonna have a certificate of occupancy or whatever else. If we don't have that, make the requirement that they must meet the code enforcement officer's requirements. So should he pop in for, you know what I mean? The requirements that he would look for, they should be able to meet those basic requirements, even though we're not having a permit, or we're not having, making them pay or renew, or have the code enforcement officer go there all the time, but you say this is what you required to meet the minimal standards of what the code enforcement officer would, the expectation for safety, so that they know that that's what they have to have. So if for some reason it was come upon that they haven't met those requirements, someone complained or whatever, and the code enforcement officer had to go there, then we have teeth that, hey, you didn't follow D2 on this, and therefore we're gonna shut you down.
D2 says New York State Uniform Fire
Whatever.
Prevention and Building Code. You know how many things are in that? And now you're gonna give one guy the power to walk in there and say,
No, you're-
this isn't right.
He's already got
I'm
that.
on this
D2.
one.
He's already got it.
He's already got
D2
that.
is in play
I'm
all the
checking this
time.
one.
I just had it on my house.
Yeah.
The railings on my thing.
Right, but you were building a new house.
But I'm saying, if we approve.
I have a
if we
CO on my house, you can't come in my house
Correct.
unless I allow him.
Right.
But
It's
you
like the
made,
assessor
But if
can't come
you-
in my house unless I allow him. They could walk around the outside and make predictions.
So isn't it more safe, because we're talking about safety, to have a requirement for an SUP so we can verify that there are railings where there's supposed to be railings? See, to me, that's why you would have an SUP. And otherwise, you just go back to not having a law at all, and say, look, they had a CO, and if they screw up, they can deal with the consequences. That's certainly an approach. It's interesting, you know, we've been going through this now for 2 years, and, to
I've been
the
against
point,
it for
Harold,
2
we
years.
haven't had a big complaint, or a big issue, like someone got hurt. You know, on the flip side, you know, it seems prudent for a while now to have at least a basic law in place, and just require an SUP. You know, there's someone that argue it's a business, it's a home business, and obviously if it's a home business, quote unquote, that has different requirements under local law, but we determined that it's not a home business. But it is a business, and an SUP would allow for that type of review to make sure it's safe.
and as a business, it should meet a standard, and the standard would be the Airbnb rules.
Yeah, Airbnb cover, if they're in an Airbnb type.
Yeah, they're pretty there's a lot of restrictions on Airbnb.
Yeah, they got restrictions, but they
We're not
also
putting those into this.
have insurance too that covers the places.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because they're
Well, they're
multi-billion
pulling a
dollar.
30% fee off the top anyway, so paying all their fees.
Yeah.
So they can afford it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the people in Lindenville, don't forget this, we're not making that much money down there. your average rental may be $200 a night. And by the time you pull Airbnb fees out of that, I mean, and generally it's weekends that they're booked.
Yeah, and then you gotta clean, have somebody come in and clean it, and, yeah, it's,
But in New York State taxes, we all know, right? So it's not like, they're not, nobody's.
most of the people doing this is just trying to pay their frickin' taxes, because you live on the lake, you gotta crowbar up your rectum anyway. And I got both sides, I got on the lake, and I got in town, I got a bit, I gotta see all full circle.
But you got all those write-offs, you know?
You know, $50,000 in insurance every year just because.
Don't you rent the lake window?
No, I don't run anything at the lake.
All right.
Free grant costs me money.
We
Friends
keep
come
this up
down and
pretty
stay,
good.
and I pay the electric bill.
Any last thoughts about going down to the basics of A, B, C, C1, C2, C 13, 14, 15, and then D 1 and 2, and then add something about every 5 years. Would that be something that I could have that ready for people in their inbox by tomorrow sometime, and then you can look at it and see if it makes sense. Yeah, so the front page basically would remain intact, the first page. The second page would go down to all of that, would do it on the 13, 14, and 15 only. And then D would be 1 and 2, and we'd probably just add a third one saying duration of permit. We just changed number 3 to say every 5 years a special use permit would be required. We could debate that, we don't have to say that, but that's, the 5 years is too much. So 3 would change to say every 5 years. What do you think?
I would be okay with that.
I could live with
Just for the life safety piece, just a little bit of peace of mind that it's not wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Bill?
Yep.
Sue and Bill?
I could live with
Yeah,
that.
I think so.
I agree, because that meets our goal, which is to offer a safety net and to, address really all the things that people are concerned about, racing up and down driveways. We can't enforce that.
No, a lot of that.
We can enforce too many people in a house, which is reasonable, like for the septic and that. We can't enforce, I don't like the sign out front either. I mean,
Yeah, we got rid of that.
Yeah.
That's part of
So-
it.
That was
I
just,
think we
that would
addressed
just be
what-
something to piss more people off, a big 4 foot by 4 foot sign.
I think we addressed the goals, which is safety.
Lord, I would put the biggest sign I could up,
Yeah,
you know, 2 sided.
yeah, yeah. Been there, done that. You and me both.
All right, thank you. Let's move on. We'll double check where everybody's at here at the end, because that's one of the possible resolutions, obviously, for the 34. The budget update, everyone should have gotten from Joanna, who's here, if you have any specific questions. Things are looking good, from what I can tell, in terms of year to date. You know, Steve had made a good suggestion about trying to track that a little bit more closely, where we should be based on this same month on previous years, but also, you know, quite a few things haven't come in yet. Mortgage tax, just to give an example, state revenue sharing. So some of the revenues will look like they're not where they should be yet. Snow and ice, paved New York, chips, those ones are not showing on revenue sides, but expense sides are going okay and fairly low. They're not breaking the bank anywhere, it doesn't seem. You have any thoughts on that, Joanne? You want to share?
No, so far so good.
It does look
Yeah.
like it's going well.
Yeah.
The highway's $109,000 to the good right now in DB.
In DB.
I'd have to look at the, whatever the net at the bottom.
Yep.
But,
That's really positive.
yeah,
Yep.
In-
And that's without chips.
And then DA, last year at this point, was $103,000 negative, this year it's $14,000 negative.
Yeah, DA, he's been very careful, and obviously he's, his update, by the way, was they're working hard on equipment right now, and some ditching and drainage, obviously with all the wet, but that's a catch-22, what I was said today, that once you start ditching and working on drainage, you're sometimes creating more of a mess than you started with, so he's trying to do that. So And obviously, the new hire is doing really well. They're impressed with his mechanical capabilities, and he's a go-getter, so they're happy with that.
Everybody is the first 2 months.
Who is? Yeah. It's the fresh paints.
The grace period, honeymoon period, Chris Walk.
CK.
Why is water negative?
There might be, I have to put some of the billing in there. That's not all in there yet. Which is just a couple journal entries. So, yeah, the
The
way,
metered sales aren't showing anything yet.
yes, which
So-
there has been, but it's, yeah, I have to adjust
Yeah,
that.
that's a good one to keep an eye on. as
So
well.
will there be highway money hitting too?
Highway, yeah.
Shit,
On
one-
TV.
No, I mean like expenses, because right now it's looking really positive.
Well, keep in mind, so there's gonna be a big expenditure on capital improvements. We earmark $193,000 this year. So that's gonna go into some heavy spending, and that's when hopefully we'll also see the paved New York and the chips up in the revenue side into the, so.
Yeah, a lot of the highway is later in the year. The first quarter or so is mostly payroll. And then once the weather starts getting nice, they really start doing some work outside. Roads
And then with insurance, we went through that whole thing with hospital medical insurance, and that also looks like it's trending well. I mean,
Yeah.
I know we adjusted it down a little bit to accommodate, but it's still staying below.
Yeah, it's still
where we
looking good so far.
anticipated. And obviously with the new hire, not having that insurance for 4 months.
Right.
I'm sorry.
What debt service is higher this year than last year?
Debts?
And why?
Those should be about not too far much different. Are you looking at the
Water debt service?
interest and principal?
Yeah, just debt service in general, looks higher than last year, at this point anyway.
Those are pretty steady.
Well, you
Water
see-
debt service always stays steady.
Yeah,
The
that
steady-
shouldn't be
For
too
the water,
different.
it's steady, and that's the largest debt service that we have.
It must be because the waters are all showing negative still. All water.
Yeah,
It's-
which it's not, there's, so the way that we do the water is, and I've always been told this even from our auditors, that they put in the billing of what, I do like a journal entry to show that the revenue is there, and then as the money comes in, it goes against like what we bill out. So, but the billing isn't in there, I just have to get that from Shelley, and then I'll put those numbers in there. So that will change. You'll see that next month. Those numbers will be different.
Okay, I was just comparing it to
Yeah.
last year and at this point.
Oh yeah, it'll look. It's probably because the journal entries were in there last year and they're just not in there
Worried
yet.
about that was when
So
we-
yeah. But
Last
we've
year
had-
showed a $43,000 positive, and this
Yes.
year we're at $30,000 negative.
Yes, that's correct. So there is one missing in there, so that'll be in there for next month. So I apologize. That is
Yeah,
one thing
but
missing.
a lot of
in
those
there.
bills, like when the
Yeah.
quarterly bills come in, and that's what it's based on, and when those get filed and
Yeah.
applied against the
Yes.
revenue side, and then we see the difference.
Yeah. So that
So
it really
something-
does. If that's in there, it's just a. It's just a tweak. I
I
have to
also
put in
checked the
there.
NICLAS, thank you, I forwarded that to the board.
Mhm.
You could just
Sorry,
include that NICLAS update as well to everybody.
Oh, okay, just put it in
That's a
there,
great
okay.
idea, and
I
that
can do
was,
that.
we've earned 13,500 on interest, obviously that's across all of the different accounts. to
Here's
different
a good number too. In 2026, we spent $31,000 on health insurance. In 2025, we spent $69,000 at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's why I asked, it's trending well compared to what we've gone through.
Perfect.
What's the, story with, ambulance service, or we just blind eye it until we have to worry about it?
Well, I've got it on the list, why don't we come to that here shortly, that's a great question. Let's talk real quick on cybersecurity and what happened with Shelley's computer. Shelley had her email, if you will, hacked, got to the point where it was really shutting down her access, and that was pretty painful. How long did it take?
10 days with
Yeah.
no computer and a week without email.
Oh, Lord. So, the first public service announcement is if someone knows that they sent an email during that period and Shelley didn't see it, those are not recoverable. They had to, in the process of fixing her computer, they weren't able to get that damage. So anyways, we think the dust is settled for that, but if you hear of something, let us know. And it was not an easy one to fix, and it became pretty costly, and it begged the question, which is why I sent all this ahead of time if you had a chance to look at it. CHPC obviously is our servicing unit, and they have they've done a good job, but when this started adding up to days and hard drives in Medina, we were worried about the cost. And the bill is $1,300. And I'm like, well, we could just buy a new hard drive for that. Why wouldn't I just do that? And he went through all the different options that we have, and obviously that's an option, but you would then still have to decide what to do with Shelley's original hard drive and still have paid that same amount roughly. The long story short, they've figured out what happened. It was probably a DocuSign that got opened as part of opening an email, unbeknownst to you. This happened sometime in February, and it finally started to have its effect later. And it's been fixed, and nothing was tampered with in terms of any of our bank accounts or any of that stuff, but it was definitely in through the email, and it's going to be an issue. So we went over with them, and we had to sit down with them about what type of increase in service we can have to try to prevent this. Two parts. One, if her computer goes down in particular again, anybody's but hers in particular, then we need a quicker stand-up, it's called, a disaster recovery, and it also brings back within a couple of hours, they would be able to replicate everything that was on her computer before it went down, and she could continue to operate. Or there's a couple of people that would have the need for this, code enforcement and assessor also, and they would want to have that same capability within a couple of hours, be reconstituted, while they then brainstorm what happened with it being shut down. So a combination of some services that were not being provided before, and by the way, before, as I mentioned in the email, we were paying $240 a month. This would be $430 a month. And it seems prudent to do. Normally this wouldn't be something that's below the threshold for a contract that would require a resolution, but I wanted to discuss it and talk about it. Sue asked a good question, should we look around? And Shelley did look around because we were worried that CHPC was going to be even more difficult to work with than they were. It turned out to be pretty helpful. But we can certainly do that. This will only be till the end of the year. We'll pay a little bit more per month and have better coverage, and then towards the end of the year we can look at several places that would provide us similar service and see if we get ready to do it. So that's kind of a summary of where we're at. Is that Shelley? Anything else you want to add?
So what, just did they steal stuff or didn't steal stuff? Do they know everything now? Do they know my puppy's name or? I want to, are they going to be able to steal the title of my house, or are they just going to know my puppy's name? How serious is this? I mean, you were down 10 days, right? You couldn't use emails. I went 40 years without using emails. I didn't have it. So, I understand what you're saying, but was it a big enough, that big a disaster?
Yeah, the damage control was minimal, thankfully. I mean, there's always potential for something like that to be devastating. And we just, by the way, this year, when we redid our town insurance, we added a cybersecurity coverage to it, which we didn't have before. And it's not cheap. I think it was $2,600 extra for our insurance plan.
You signed the bill? You signed the bill?
No, it's a $2,500 deductible. Good question. I know, I'm just saying.
Well, there's two things.
But the reason I bring it up is that if we thought that anything had gotten to that point, which the CHPC folks said that it did, but if we thought that we would need to go to our insurance company and say, you need your experts to now do, whatever they do.
Do the deep dive.
So you had a deep dive.
They give a forensic deep dive.
Yeah.
That's a great, the full service option, I'm fine with whatever, but you can get an external drive for any computer, and they're relatively expensive now.
Yeah.
That's what my
$500.
first thought is.
So she could, but it's manual, so she would have to literally pay download the external drive once a week. Then you'd only lose a week of stuff, right? And I think that solution for the assessor would make a lot more sense, because they're not active.
Right.
But if it's a real concern, I can see why you might want the full service option for her, but I would think an external drive would do the exact same thing, and so if she loses her computer, she can plug it into any computer she wants, boom, there's your stuff.
Yep.
And so this really isn't even the full service. There was a more expensive one. They've kind of whittled this down. They're calling it the budget plan for us, and, apparently we're the only town that they've offered it to, because we didn't wanna pay $600 a month for the full plan.
Yeah.
So-
And the disaster recovery, now that I'm thinking about it, the disaster recovery is $10 per computer added to our bill. So right now it's at $430 just for your computer, I forgot about that. So in order to add that to, the other computers, we'd have to pay that extra amount. So let's not do that, let's just do his.
You can buy it, except, yeah.
But so
this.
is this $430, like, if someone breaches the security, are we gonna be notified immediately? Like, I have something on my
Yes.
phone, is that what it's gonna
They
be?
are able to tell, I don't know if it's, they will know if someone is trying to do that. And then, yes, they will,
They block
it's
it, or-
blocked, so that it can't happen.
Well, you should,
Yeah, there's a section
It seems like-
that very question was asked in our meeting, when they said, under privileged access management, we would be paying for 24/7, 365 monitoring of any privileged activities. So if
I
all of a
feel like I
sudden,
have one that is cheap, way cheap, and it lets me know right away, but I don't know, go ahead.
so, the other option we can do is we should, I'm assuming Spectrum we use for internet.
Spectrum,
We should probably call them and find out, if they can add a better firewall to our system. And that would probably be, you just get the price, and then I guarantee you that it's gonna be a hell of a lot cheaper than that.
it should be, yeah, this was an enhanced firewall proposal.
Yeah.
But
They're a third party, so there's no way they could match Spectrum's price.
Seems like the insurance company would mandate you do that.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah, another good point. This is, part of the firewall enhancement is part of this increase. We can replace our device and then
an external drive, she's
make sure it's protected at the network. But, yeah, the external drive, that's my first reaction, why wouldn't I just buy another desktop? Or why wouldn't I just take the Supervisor one that's mostly just used by me and Roger and replicate Shelley's? These were all questions we asked him, and he said, well, you're still gonna have things that you want this 24/7, 365 coverage and backup or not? You know, and,
Yes.
anyways. I feel like it's prudent to do for
I'm not
now.
gonna do their stuff just between 8 and 4, then,
Who notified us that this situation happened?
Would you believe someone from California called me one day and
Good
said,
Story.
with like a broken English, and I thought, boy, here we go. And he said, you need to call your IT person immediately, because I am receiving emails from you that are really messed up. And I thought, yep, this is just like a prank phone call. And I said, okay, thank you, and I hung up. And about 15 minutes later, the town of Pembroke called me and said that you need to call your IT, same thing. I thought, okay, what is going on?
So your email got hacked.
It was through my email.
That was the
Of course,
hack, and then it affected.
CHPC doesn't have anything to do with our email. We go through Salmons, who used to live down on Westcott Lane, Shelley and Paul Salmons. They designed our website, and they are the ones that, I don't want to say host, but we do our email stuff through them. And so I called them next, and they had never seen anything like this. What happened is someone had all of my town email rerouted to Loving Family 1410 at something, and that I can never get any of those emails back
At least it was a
for a
loving
week.
family.
I know, Loving Family. I'll never forget it, because I thought this is just crazy, and
If it was a hateful family, that'd be a little more concerned.
Right.
There's some little kid running around in Zimbabwe
just-
with all our emails.
it was
to
terrible.
people's
But
phones.
to not be able to access my computer for 10 days, I mean, it was just terrible.
Yeah, that was
They
the best.
actually shut you down by doing this, or did we
CNH
shut ourselves down?
We shut ourselves down at that point.
I had to deliver the computer to CNHPC, and they had it for 10 days to be able to wipe everything off.
Now, she's got some unique programs.
No, and we had to
That's
pay
why-
them money for this?
1,300 and
Yeah, the bill for that that's the other thing, is that this would be less costly if we have something like this recur, because we're paying more per month.
Yeah, but you're saying $2,600, it costs us 1,300 in 10 days.
Yeah, but the bill's $600 a month,
Yeah, I mean, it,
it adds up.
yeah, it's all a little,
I agree, I don't like the logic of it.
it's like
Our
it's a
first
no-win
thing-
situation.
doing it?
You're damned if you
It
do,
is.
damned if you don't.
I would just check with Spectrum on the firewall setting,
I'll call them.
and then your
Yeah.
email, there should be, let them know that it was your email that got hacked.
Let Spectrum know that it was
Yeah.
my email.
I mean, do you have access to your email from any other computer or any
I
computer
do
you want?
now, but I didn't then.
You do now.
And I do now, yes. Now, I mean, we had to change the password multiple times because they were still continuing to hack
Your
it.
email can be hacked from any computer you've used,
Right,
just so you know.
yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't really matter if it was just
That's
that
what I'm
one computer, so
thinking.
that's why so just because we're protected here, doesn't mean you're protected, you know what I mean? So just bear that in mind,
Doesn't any of this stuff load to the cloud? None of that gets loaded up? That you can pull it back down or no?
yeah, it's on the whatever server they're using.
Right.
Who-
But by doing that, would that be another danger of having to pay another $1,300?
All that stuff. But and it was all being done very early in the morning, like 5 and 6 in the morning, and late at night, which I'm obviously not here early in the morning and late at
Somalians.
night. I mean, there's just,
See
the
you,
whole thing was,
blue dart.
Yeah.
Road goes down, they bring all the loving kids.
It's a
Love
beautiful
family, love family.
You're done.
All right, for the short run, we'll check with Spectrum, and I think we might get an answer actually from CHPC about Spectrum's firewall, and then ask Spectrum if that matches what they would provide or what they would recommend.
So the people that we were paying to protect us didn't protect us, and then they charged us $1,300 for being our friends.
Yeah, but the first part is not accurate. Here's the funny part of the story, and those of you, you've seen this.
I don't know if I can laugh anymore.
Susan sees this. No, this is important. Agencies, like government agencies, will fish and try to get employees to mess up. They'll send
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's also gonna be part of this program. When we get this new higher level, they're gonna have training available. They'll also do phishing and see if we bite on certain emails. Like you'll see an email that looks like it's from me, but it's not my email address. And then if you click on it, they'll alert us and say, hey, Harold's looking at the email that's not really the.
They tried to get to school, cause I would get them from another Theodore Lewis. or
Oh, yeah,
Johnny
I did
Lewis.
too.
All right, so
Yeah.
that's also gonna be
Yeah.
part of an enhanced, costly, but enhanced cybersecurity.
And then when that screws up, we've got $2,500 deductible, so you really,
We paid $50,000 to get fixed.
you know, it's a racket.
That's a big, yeah. It's a
Well,
whole-
they made it so you can't do without it.
Probably the same guy protects you, the same guy that's intruding.
That's why most of the, a lot
Right?
of
He
the,
protects you. Oh, you pay. It's like the old mafia, you know, you give me money,
a lot of the programs
protect
we
you.
use though are still.
If you don't, then we beat
green
you up.
screens. We have all old green screens with all the records that, like, 2 or 3 of our programs are all on the green screens, the old fashioned ones, cause they can't break through
Yeah,
the
the
walls.
court is on a separate system
Yep.
completely. for
But our
that.
emails are on a newer one, but we've got really old to really new, and that's the reason, because they're harder to hack.
Well, I'd like to put this in place, with everyone's concurrence in the short run. We'll do some research about the firewall spectrum, but I think we ought to get this at least till the end of the year, pay a little bit more, make sure we have the increased coverage.
I agree, I'm just saying, it's gonna be it's not gonna help if we're logging into our email from a different computer or a phone,
Right.
and you're on a different network. All of that they're doing for us is completely useless.
Agreed, then it's all the
Don't
discipline
forget.
of, like, well,
But you're
that's
saying
true,
you don't
that's
only
true of
log
any
in
program
here.
that we. give.
ever. I've never logged
So
into
just
it,
say-
So
ever,
good
from
diligence
any other
on what we're
computer
opening.
but my computer.
So
I didn't even know what the
She's
password
saying
was.
she's only ever logged in here, so we should keep it that way. Yeah, right?
If we're gonna pay for a service, that would make
Yeah.
sense.
Especially for your
Yeah.
computer, yeah, and your work.
You obviously have a loving family in California. That we
When I
already
heard
established,
when I
right?
heard the name of the email, I'm like, geez.
They're slapping you in the face too.
All right, next topic, go from cybersecurity to morbidity, no, I'm just.
Yeah, there we go.
Cemetery committee, actually, the committee is on hold while Roger and Shelley work on some rules, updating the rules, so I would just want to mention that, but you wanted to talk a little bit about funeral services quote.
I sat in on a webinar with a company called All Funeral Services, and, you know, they're salesmen, that's what they're trying to do. They're selling digital, we would pay them to digitize our cemetery records and our cemetery maps. And the monthly fee, depending on the package that we picked, would be anywhere from $275 a month to $3,368 a month. And I'm only bringing it up because I told them that I would bring it to the board, but
What would be the purpose of doing that?
it would, so right now, because I don't have a town works program, I do everything with just Excel and Word. everything that I do, aside from our bass program and our water program. So the cemetery records are in an Excel spreadsheet, alphabetized, and so when someone calls and says, so-and-so died, do they have a grave? I would just go to the Excel spreadsheet, look up the last name to be able to tell you if they have a grave and where it is, and then I would go into my maps file. This just puts everything together. They even write, by GIS, or am I saying that right? Is it
GPS?
GPS, excuse me. They're able to even pinpoint every single grave in the cemetery. So anybody could go online and access the same information that they have to call me for. I don't mind doing what I'm doing. It's a small cemetery. It's not worth $275.
You only cover this one, you only cover one, Haven, you don't cover the other ones?
We have burials in the other ones, but it's the only active cemetery. So yes, I have records for all
Sounds
the
like an
cemeteries.
oxymoron, active cemetery, not just people dead.
So you think that,
You get so
because
confused.
I feel like, on my question, how often do you get these calls? It seems like for us, because we're not like a cemetery in Rochester or Buffalo, it seems like a lot of money for something if we can.
We probably have like
Spreadsheets.
10 to 15 burials a year.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's
far,
Well,
I was waiting.
someone want to see what they're looking up at, or what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the
It's the other
thing
way
is-
around, it's what
Yeah,
they're looking
you're
down.
looking up. you know.
Well, Shelley's not recommending we do this, she just wanted to make sure you're aware.
Yeah,
of
no, I
it.
appreciate it. I think it's cool, I just,
I think it's cool too, but.
Yeah.
And Joanna's
Yeah.
gonna help us look
yeah,
at,
absolutely.
Do we have any people buried in the wrong place that we know?
not that I know of.
there's still a
And I bet
question,
I'm sure that's
and
happening.
there's still a question if there's actual burials at Beecher, you know that, right? There's
Okay.
still a question about whether or not they've been exhumed on Beecher Cemetery down on Marshall Road. There may or may not be actual burials there, they may have been exhumed.
They have, tools for that I can rent through.
Well, you can see things with a
Seriously,
LiDAR,
yeah.
remember? But you can't definitively, I guess, prove without exhuming.
Digging down 6 foot.
I stepped through a grave in Hamlin, that was not fun.
All right, next one,
Yeah.
before we leave that one, I asked Joanna to look at other towns and what they might be doing for a permanent maintenance fund, which is something that Steve brought up. It may not be called that, I've come across different terms, but permanent maintenance fund is in the New York State's code and regulations for cemeteries. It requires a cemetery board and things like that, so I can send you that, what I found about that, or maybe
Yeah,
some.
no, that'd be great. I did a little bit of research, and it
Yeah.
it seems like it just restricts the money, so we can't use it, kind of thing. We can
Right.
only use the interest that we earn off of it,
Right, and then we would
But
just, any
we'd save it for-
proceeds from any sales of plots or
like a
whatever would,
10%.
a percent would go over to it and all.
Yep.
But, so more on that. I
Yeah.
wanted to talk a little bit about campers and campgrounds. We've been batting this around. We have this, I've looked at this pretty closely. I just would like to hand this off to the next person that wants to look at it. The top sheet from Dave Reese, he's ambivalent about what we want to do. He just says we need to do something. He said currently the town of Yates has a camping permit for 30 days. And this is an issue that is to address 32 campers that we have on private property, mostly in the waterfront development zoning district. And he's looking for guidance. Maybe we need a special use permit or a variance or a permit for a longer period of time. He said that the conditions in some cases are not safe, not sanitary. Parking is also unsafe. There's shoreline protection issues in some cases, and there's occupancy limits. So anyways, he said, he has it here, and this is all annotated. Just as examples, Carlton said instead of 30 days, Carlton has 180 days. And then if you're building a house and you need to have a camper, you can get a special permit for 2 years. So there's different rules in different towns that we could look at. I'm just gonna pass it, who wants to take it next? Want to look at it? Okay. And he's got the actual, where he says 32 campers in the town, he's got the actual plots and numbers and that, and if we need to go that level. But I think it's just a question of each of us spending a little bit of time thinking about what our current law is, what some other examples, he's got Carlton, Somerset, New York State model law, and something else in there, best practices. So he's just trying to do the homework so we can consider it. He thinks one way to make his job easier and to give us a little bit of wiggle room is just to go from 30 days to 180 days. That's actually giving the camper owners a little more leeway.
Right.
It allows them to,
I actually like that one.
Yeah, so he's not saying we need to make it more restrictive.
No,
He's
my
saying-
place, they keep telling me after somebody's there 30 days, they have to move, so they move to a different campsite.
Right,
Who tells you
exactly.
that?
Huh?
Who tells you that?
When I put that campground in down there. They told me that,
Who's they?
it had been, what's his name?
The
Dan?
DC
Dan
officer?
Wolf.
Yeah,
Wolf. No, DC officer now.
Yeah, it was $25 for a 30-day
For a
permit.
permit, right, so,
right, the
everybody,
permit, the example of our permit,
Even
and
in the
the
ghetto
sheet is
lot
in
where
there.
I'm
yeah.
gonna be?
yeah, and they get a lot where you're gonna be. But
Gotta pop up now.
the thing that gets me is, if you look in the records, the only ones who put these things in are the people who stay at my place. Like Cindy Grabowski puts one in every year, and she stays down there. And, the Neils put one in, and whoever stays at mine, they always fill out the paperwork. So we're the only on record people, and when they say there's 30 campers, there's a lot more than that now.
Well, that's his estimate, yeah.
Right.
And hardly any of them are doing that, even the form we already have in the local law, so, yeah. He's just asking for guidance, and he said, whatever you wanna come up with as a board, he'll help apply it, so.
I like the 180-day thing, because then somebody can, you know, like I got, somebody's building a house and wants to put a camper on my place for 180 days, I don't have to move it from here to here to here.
Yeah, I like that too, and the example of the fire that occurred in Marshall and burned a guy's house down, he got a camper, but he decided not to try to have to deal with the camper law, so he got a porta potty installed right outside the camper to cover that angle, so he's, you know, being septically clean or whatever, so people have workarounds, but.
But
So-
that's the big thing with me is the sanitary.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, if
not only for that person, but the people that are around them.
Oh, absolutely. If it, I mean, but if you see a camper that's got a porch roof on it and an attached deck, you know, they're not taking that camper over to the dump site and dumping it.
And now you beg the question, has the county health department done an inspection of the septic system?
Right.
Or is there even?
Right.
You know, probably is one, but it's,
You know, like the guy over there with the burnout, he could have tied it into his old septic.
yeah,
Really,
yeah,
it's there, but,
good point.
We use the Shetty one,
what's that?
the old Shetty you went past.
Yeah, this was your one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ambulance contract, as you are aware, I forwarded all the emails. The latest is that the new mayor, Mayor Podolsky, claimed that she answered our questions. She did admit that she's not answering all of our questions. And I sent my last email saying, well, thanks for trying to answer some of our questions. We still don't agree with a lot of your summary about the budget. They're basically taking the entire Medina Fire Department budget and saying 90% of that now applies to ambulance, and therefore we have a $1.6 million shortfall, and the three towns that benefit from this are gonna have to pony up $405,000. So I took that number in my last email, divided by the average number of calls for the three towns. That would be a $722 additional payment from the towns to the fire department in Medina for every call. As opposed to how they want to do it, which is charge the three towns $135,000 each, in which case we would be paying $1,125 per call, and Ridgeway would be paying $533 per call on average. So it's a broken proposal from the start. I saw that they passed their budget. I haven't had a chance. Has anybody looked into it yet to see what passed in there? I'm pretty sure it passed in there that they were anticipating $405,000. Now it's just a question of whether we can get it to be equitable under that 405. I would defer to you, Harold, or anybody else that can come up with another option. I have explored a little bit with Mercy Flight, with a phone call to the
Well,
officers.
I talked with Bill and I, if you don't mind me speaking.
Go ahead, bud.
We're gonna try to go over to Barker. Barker has 2 ambulances. We could try to negotiate. I went over there 5-10 years ago, off and on, trying to negotiate something with them. The thing in it, and I'm just gonna make me enemies, but life is, the
You have
truth
a
has
lot
to
of
be told.
enemies already.
Yeah,
That's- You're an enemy.
you gotta get in line. But
Big deal.
Yeah, take it over.
I mean, we pay, and I said to you today, we pay $250,000 to a fire district, which the people you have to vote on separate now, which thank God for us, because our budget would be blown up, but now they're coming at us with the EMS, right? So it's the same thing. If you took half that budget put in a ambulance and stored it down there and had an ambulance service, and you, even if you paid I think you mentioned this, you paid a small stipend for people to be on call. And I've been fighting this for a long time. For the last 20 years, I've been trying to get the school to train EMTs. The state is seeing it now because now EMTs, you can be an EMT at 17 years old. And I've been trying to push this into the schools so that we educate these kids. And once they get a feel of it, because the reason I got a DMS was because of Mrs. Whipple in 5th grade used to do a first aid course, and that's the only reason I got a DMS. That would be your grandma. And that's what sparked me. So why aren't we doing that? And I've had 3 superintendents that I've gone through, probably 4, when I was on the school board trying to get this through. You were there when we were trying to do it. You were there on Saturday. And they're all gung-ho and all about it, but then they turn around and nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's just a big stall.
I didn't hear the BOCES was trying to do that. I don't know if they.
And that was another stall, because where are the EMTs? They should be turning up. You can turn an EMT out in 6 months. So where are they? Where are these 17, 18-year-old EMTs that we could have? If they would have done this 15 years ago, we'd have 20 EMTs in this town. And we'd be able to run our own service for less than $135,000. When I was talking to Barker was running their service with gas and supplies. They had 2 ambulances. They told me for $50,000 to $75,000 a year. That's a hell of a lot less than $135,000, and you got people right here. And then you don't have people coming from Medina, 15, 20 minutes to pick you up, and then taking you wherever they take you. If the ambulance is right here, I throw you in and we go, I just save 20 minutes on medicine. How many lives can you save? How many lives? Can somebody figure it out? Somebody can probably figure it out. Somebody can probably do one of those.
Yeah, based on response times and everything, cardio.
And everybody knows it's the golden rule. 10 minutes of an emergency is the most crucial 10 minutes. Yeah. And Medina's 10 minutes or 15 minutes away. And I don't very seldom see them coming lights and sirens. So,
No, I appreciate everything
we
you
can
just
do
said.
it. And I
If
think
you want to pursue it, the timeline is short. Do you want to also, beyond that, do you want to also, I mean, I can do this, I can call Mercy Flight and ask them to actually give us a proposal.
Oh, definitely.
It'll be 200,000 plus. But then you wonder, if we got,
But we partner with Barker.
I was gonna say Barker, and I'll tell you who else we could possibly work, Ridgeway. Ridgeway is gonna get hammered, I think. And so Ridgeway might say, well, outside the village, maybe we need to have an ambulance based at the Ridgeway Fire Hall.
I mean, you got Tri-Town that's over in Middleport, and you got Barker.
And then
You used to have
Terry's-
Kendall doesn't do it anymore, Kendall Fire Company doesn't. But
Then Mercy Flight told me Terry's Corners has
Right.
Mercy Flight ambulance.
But I don't understand how we can't, I've been EMT for 25 plus years, and I don't see how you can't make money. Why it's costing money? Now, if you start adding in pensions, and you start adding in retirements, and that's what's happening in Medina, they want us to pay for their retirements and their pensions. Most COVA never should have been dissolved. COVA was right in the middle of Orleans County. And I've made the suggestion, we should have a central ambulance like COVA, we should have one on the west side, one on the east side. You have 3 places where the ambulances can come out of, and they're close. They're right in the middle. You put one in Ridgeway, you put one in Gaines, and you put one in Clarendon, or whichever's in the middle.
Yeah.
And you're covered. And 95% of the fire calls are EMS. Yeah. And what are we buying? Fire trucks. Fire trucks. How many times does the fire truck, and I don't want to belittle it,
No.
but I want to be honest. How many times does a fire truck save a life? And how much do they cost? How many times would an ambulance with an EMT save
In their
a life?
defense, the mayor did say that, and as you know, they're trying to get the fire truck, the ladder truck sold. They've already bought it, but they can sell it, maybe make a profit, so that should help their situation.
Yeah, they got lucky because it takes 5 years to get one. So by the time it came around, what they paid for it, they could sell it for, and
For a little more, yeah.
and somebody who's going to buy it.
But you're right, they admitted that this cost that they're leveraging onto us is because of personnel costs, benefits, and all that. And, it's true also, your point, they showed the numbers for the types of calls, and they split out pure fire only, and then EMS, and it's only about 10%. So that's why they're using that logic on their overall budget, and I appreciate that logic. What I don't appreciate is being treated the same way as the other two towns. That's not fair, and that's just,
But even what they're doing now is trying to handle us for 90% of the fire department spells. That's absolutely ridiculous. We get 2 guys at a time. That's all it comes down here on a call.
yeah.
We get the
But the service,
team, the driver.
but the service is available when you need it. They're saying, we have to provide that service and have those people in the building
That's what
ready to go.
that's what we contract out with our own, and we provide a stipend, a day-to-day, an on-call stipend,
Right.
weekly or whatever. We do it all the time at other agencies, law enforcement, first responders. You have someone that agrees to be on call that week, and you're covered, and then, you know, you switch it out. But, I mean, it's a bit of a shuffle, but I think we could make it, even by paying someone a stipend, you're gonna come out less.
I
Less,
did,
and if they get actually called out, then you can put an hourly rate on whatever they were out for, but again, you have quality people, you're gonna know who's on call, you're gonna know your people, and it's right here in town.
I did a little math, and if you put 4 people, 2 EMS people and 2 drivers on for a year, it's about $30,000, $32,000 a year.
For the hourly coverage.
For a stipend, you know.
It's just a stipend.
Right, and then if they got called out, then you'd pay them their call-out pay, but you'd be basically paying them to be alert and available, so they're not out at a party drinking, or they're not out of town, but there'd always be somebody covering it.
Well,
Because they don't get paid now, the volunteer EMS,
do
they don't get paid.
Do you need a license to drive a special license?
No,
to
I
drive an
don't
ambulance?
believe you do.
No, so anybody in the fire
You
department
can
can
drive
drive
it,
it.
you can drive it, yeah.
And EMS can be in a fly car,
Right, right.
you know, so
It's
that's.
like when I was in Leadville, I had a jump bag and stuff, and when I got a call, I went right to the call.
Right.
Where the other ones ran down here, got in the ambulance, or whatever car we called it,
Right.
and came there, but I was there 10 minutes ahead of
No
everybody.
compensation,
No, with no
and we
compensation.
have those
Well,
people willing
well,
to do that.
But now, here is something that in terms of compensation, they do charge, anybody that Medina Fire Department ambulance takes to the hospital, et cetera, they do charge. That's another big part of the problem. In their defense, they say that, you know, Medicare is renowned for only paying 40% on the dollar. So they're not getting their reimbursements for the ambulance charges and the fees that they're supposed to be able to charge.
We probably won't either, but at least we have, that's something that we can't fix, and they can't fix.
They're a paid medical
I take the
service.
point. I'm just-
Yeah,
Cova was a volunteer, which did do some stipend pay and did have some full-time people
Right.
over there. And Cova should not have ever disappeared.
I agree.
It was poorly
Yeah, they
managed
had
by the county. Cova was doing a great job.
They had 4 rigs there.
Yeah, yeah, and they were right central, so it's central Orleans, they're right in the middle, and they could get to both ends.
Yeah, the response times, by the way, if you look at the charts that come from the county EMS office, the response times for Mercy Flight and the rest of the county and the 7 other towns is not good. It's not comparable to what we're getting. So we do have good service. It's quick comparatively, but it would be much quicker if we could come up with something that's nearby.
Right, and the other thing is, you should be able to, I've seen it for years, you should be making money on EMS, at least paying your bills, no
Right,
problem.
just trying to pay it.
Because when they're charging, and I think it's, if you get the bird now, it's like 25 grand, right? If they fly the helicopter and
Yeah.
pick you up, it's 25 grand. Well, where the hell's the money go, Bob, huh? Where the hell does the money go, Bob? Right? Just like when Medina picks people up, it's $500 just to get to you. So another 500 if they do
Yeah, I
anything.
think it's like 900 minimum round
Yeah.
trip to the Medina.
So
Hospital.
$900, me and Bill can pick up a lot of live ones for $900, right? Just call us. He'll drive
Make
it,
it there,
and I'll try to
we'll
save
pick
it.
them up alive.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate anything you guys can do. If you want me, I can contact Mercy
Yeah.
Fund separately, okay?
Yeah,
All right, so you're by committee, you're duly commissioned as a committee then.
That's right.
Get us a better ambulance
right,
contract.
and I'm going to the fire
Thank you.
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
Barker?
No.
Oh,
To Leonard.
over here, yeah. I'll let you go in there, they don't like
Yeah,
that, because
but-
I've been trying to push ambulance and telling
They
firemen.
want some
aren't-
notice anyway.
Yeah, pretty fire trucks don't save lives.
Okay, summer youth program, any updates? We did get the foundation money, that was good.
yep, that's about the only update, the leaders of the churches have met with the school, and it looks like they are, on track to make it happen, even though we don't really have a place for it. So both churches are willing and excited to have our students and children of this community in their buildings.
Yeah,
So
it's-
And they're not charging any fees or anything. And the other thing I was asked tonight is, can the Presbyterian Church use the cemetery to go as a circle for the kids to come in and be dropped off and then circle back out?
Instead of doing it on the parking lot.
Right, coming back into, they got that small entrance. Joanne,
Joanne,
yeah.
I don't see why not. It's already open for the season, so,
Right.
yeah.
So that during that summer, just so they know that we're okay,
Yeah.
when they
Because the
drop the
Methodist-
kids off in Presbyterian, the Methodists, they'll use the school.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then this one, they'll do the cemetery, they'll come in off Main Street, then they'll exit onto Housel, and then they'll exit.
And the other one that will enter at the school.
Yep.
Right.
And
And
come
then
right
exit.
out by the
Yeah,
church.
that's okay.
Yep. It looks like it's gonna work out.
It looks like you had 130 kids maybe with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Something to
Pretty
them.
favorable response from both churches.
They actually had people suggest that we
Oh,
bus
yeah,
people to
I
Medina. It's like,
did. I did.
we don't have that kind of money to put kids on buses and send them to
We
Medina.
did look into
At least
that.
we're not buying an electric one.
Yeah. Marcus got 10, they probably really sell them, aren't they?
So the access, I will check with Roger though, make sure he doesn't have any concerns, because if you're
Right.
taking a bus, it might be tight to make those turns in the cemetery. That's-
No, it's no buses, this
This
is
is
just
just
the parents,
people's dropping
just the
them off.
parents
Okay.
dropping them off,
That
yeah.
should be fine.
Yeah. Just, there's no
Street
buses.
dance, I've got this form for filling out for the county, you wanna go there for fireworks?
It's just an application for, it's called America 250, and Dr. Johnson sent it to me to maybe apply for some monies to try to get some fireworks to celebrate. We do honor the veterans at our street dance, and they have a flower booth where they accept donations for small bouquets, and they also raffle a bench, and it is an all-American celebration of the end of summer, so we're gonna put in for it and see if we get any money for it. The Lions Club also has agreed to do a small chicken barbecue, and, we're on target with that,
Thank you.
so.
That's awesome. I'll fill that out and scan it and make sure you guys,
I'm gonna try to do better this year, maybe have the sign hanging up at the 4th of July already, if you
Yeah,
guys
that
are
would
not
be nice.
opposed to that.
yeah.
And then flyers to all the crafters and whatnot, so we can maybe bring in some more people that way. But I think that, overall, people seem to enjoy it, and haven't gotten too many complaints, except for the making sure that when we close the roads down, that we make it clear that there's no foot traffic on that one end, but they can still go get ice cream.
Roger that. Thank you. Awesome. Code enforcement at the county, did anybody make that meeting? Bill, did you make that meeting?
No.
Okay. All reports are that there were a lot of people that said it's a bad idea, but basically they proposed that there could be 4 full-time code enforcement officers housed at the county, and you wouldn't need any of them for the towns or the villages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And pretty much everyone that attended the meeting, from what I could gather, thought it was a bad idea, so I don't know if that's gonna go anywhere. But it's a lot like the court thing.
Then
The county take over the
they'd be
court.
taking over all these decisions about all this, they'd be at their mercy.
Right, they'd be taking our
Yeah.
local laws and
We
kind
wouldn't
of,
have to do this anymore, but that would be at their mercy,
yeah.
same thing,
Yeah, we see what they do now, so.
yeah.
Alright, and, so we'll see, I don't know if that'll go anywhere. Speed reduction, there was a request to look at a speed reduction. Any citizen of the town can ask for their road, speed limit to be reviewed, but it's been withdrawn since, as I understand it.
I have not heard that it's been formally withdrawn. I know that they were told they had to circulate a petition.
And then I received an email,
I thought you
I'm
said
sorry.
one,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Probably
Sorry,
got
we got an
emails,
email.
Yeah, they said that it's on hold, they're not gonna pursue it at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, and just so you're aware, the process is, as it was described, you have to, sometimes there's a petition, a certain number of people would have to require and request it. I think the last time we did one was on Ward Road, and it's all subject to the state, it gets submitted to the state, even though it's a town road, the state has to decide. And then if it's approved, then the change in the speed limit will be posted. Town park, next steps, we can table that, these are just some thoughts about what we might do next with the town park, the meeting's going pretty long, we'll let it go. Okay, roundtable, anybody? Anything that we missed? We do have a very brief executive session to discuss personnel matters, we'll wait till Susan gets out.
Do you want to mention the animal?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We, something changed with New York State Ag and Markets, one of the laws that requires us now to add a line on our dog licensing, to allow for donations to be made for a shelter of our choice. So everybody, all the town clerks have to add this line, we've already done that, and I talked to Joanna about it. And, so we're gonna name the Orleans County Animal Shelter, which is the one on,
31 and 98?
Yeah,
yeah,
Why would we do ponds?
because we have a contract with the county, and that contract lists the animal shelter. So, I think that's what all of the town clerks are probably gonna.
I think ponds just does a better job, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I wanna say that I know Paws is not a kill shelter. They adopt out. They'll keep a cat or dog forever.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other one.
Their numbers are way down, I know that, I talked to Jim Hausman about that. And, I think it really depends on the officers that they have on staff at the time. So he just doesn't believe in that, and they, while he's been there, they have not done that. Only if the animal causes a safety concern, like if they bite or,
Right.
then they'll put them down, but
I rescued one who was, shot in the lab, she was just crazy wired. And when they picked him up, it's really,
rough shape.
if he's gonna be put down, or she's gonna be put down, give me a call and I'll keep it, so. But the owners came through.
I don't anticipate that we'll be getting a lot of donations, but the line has been added, so.
I'd say leave it to the county, and like you say, donations, people can make donations to anybody they want, and whether there's an extra line on that form or not. I would just say leave it to the county. Anything else for the group, otherwise we'll go into executive session. So, there's a resolution to enter executive session to discuss personnel matters, and move.
So moved.
Second. Discussion, say aye. Aye. Motion passed. So we'll be brief here. If anyone wants to hang around for a few minutes until we're done, you can outside and we'll be out there shortly.